There's a lot of different ways to polish dice. Some folks do everything by hand, some use rotary tools and polish, some use vibratory tumblers, and everything in between. When I first started making dice back in 2020, I polished everything by hand. That process involved going through a series of 6 Zona polishing papers, starting at the roughest paper, and then moving to the smoothest. Zona papers are great, honestly, but it was a long process, and I was never very good at getting things super shiny by hand. I always had a lot of little micro scratches on the surface of the dice. Other people didn't seem to mind them too much, but it always bothered me. Nowadays, I start out by sanding the dice down with the coarsest Zona paper on a modified flat lap. Lapidry, by the way, the lap part of flat lap, is the process of cutting and shaping stone. This thing spins really fast, so the green polishing paper is the coarsest I'd go. If I went any rougher, it would take way too much off at once. With the green though, it's a nice quick way of sanding off all the flashing and sanding down any raised faces. Once the dice are shaped, evened out, and all the little extra bits are sanded off, I go through a series of 3 sandpapers to smooth everything out even more. 1000 grit, then 2000, then finally 3000. The sandpaper goes quicker than the polishing papers, partially just because there's fewer of them to get through, but it does also seem to catch more, which leads to more rolled edges and makes it more difficult to move the dice over the paper easily, so there's some pros and cons. Once the sanding is done, it's off to the polishing tumbler. I've tried a couple of different things with the polishing tumbler. I've tried using a medium of the wood cubes, and I've tried using ceramic spheres. I will say, I feel like the ceramic worked quicker, but didn't get quite as good of a polish. Plus, I leave my stuff in the polishing tumbler for an exorbitant amount of time, so the ceramic actually ended up leaving weird lines on the faces of my dice. If I was just polishing for a day or two, it would have been fine, but I tend to leave things polishing for like a couple weeks, so it just didn't work out the best for my purposes. In the end, I've come back to the first medium I tried, which is hardwood cubes and some Plastex polish. They just seem to give the better polish in my experience. Once those have been polishing for a couple of weeks, I pull them all out, and then I'm rubbing them on a soft cloth here just to clean any extra polish off the faces so I can check and see how shiny things are looking. These are looking pretty good, so it's time for the next step. An ultrasonic cleaner is another thing I added a few years into doing things. I used to just use an old toothbrush and some soapy water to clean all the polish and resin dust gunk out of the numbers. Now everything goes into this cleaner with some soapy water, and I leave it for a couple minutes to do the work on its own. I expect that a bigger and more powerful cleaner might work better than the one I've got, but with a few runs and a minimal amount of brushing, it does the job. And that's my polishing process. As mentioned before, there's a lot of different ways people polish dice, and I don't think there's any one right way to do it, so it's always useful to try things out and see what works for you. Thanks for coming along on this video. This set of Fate dice was a little more simple, so I thought it'd be a good chance to talk about the sanding and polishing process. I do want to go ahead and thank the person who commissioned the set of dice. They were the perfect set to give me a chance to talk about all this stuff. I'd also like to go ahead and thank my wonderful patrons who make videos like this possible. Their names are the ones currently on the screen now. If you'd like to join my Patreon, I'll leave a link to that in the description. Thanks for tagging along. Hopefully this little look at my process was insightful. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!